Hello, welcome to the Bearded Horror Review. My name is Dan, aka the Boogey Man, and on this show I will watch a horror movie, either a classic or a new release, talk about some good points, talk about some bad points if there are any of either, give it a rating out of 10 if I remember to do it, and let you know if I think this film is worth a watch or not, in my humble opinion. And it's 2025. Had a nice little break over Christmas after I did a bunch of Christmas horror movies. We've got a bunch of films lined up this year, and I was supposed to watch this a while ago, but I decided to have a longer Christmas break, and I'm back, and I'm ready to look at films and go, So we've got all that to look forward to. But this week we're going to be talking about the brand new release of Nosferatu. Nosferatu is a remake about nearly 100 years in the making. It is my most anticipated film of the last 6 months. I have been waiting for this film. I was going to go see it on New Year's Day, but I was very, very ill. I will not say with what, but it was grim. It was grim. So I finally went and saw it about, I don't know, nearly a week ago now. Geez, not even that. Not a week ago, like 4 or 5 days ago. And I have been mulling it over and thinking about it. And yeah, we're going to be talking about it today. So Nosferatu. But I've never been so happy. Before we carry on, guys, if you could leave a like and subscribe if you are enjoying the reviews. It's a little thing for you, but it really helps out the channel, helps out with that algorithm. I really appreciate it. So, Nosferatu. It's been highly anticipated. It's Robert Eggers, his new film, the filmmaker behind such films as The Witch, or The Vitch, if you want to, be that guy, and The Lighthouse, among others. He's done a couple of films. He's one of those auteurs that has done one film every couple of years, but they've always been big deals. So he's decided to do a remake of the classic, not supposed to exist Nosferatu. And yeah, we're going to talk about it. Before we carry on, guys, even though I try and not give anything away, for me to talk about it in depth, as I've done in many of my other reviews, there might be slight spoilers for this film, even though, it's technically 100 years old, the story. But if you don't want to know anything at all about the film, here is your spoiler warning. So go away, watch the film, come back, watch the review, see what I thought, let me know what you thought. Yes, so in America this came out on Christmas Day, and over here in the UK we had to wait till New Year's Day. There's been a lot of hype behind this film, a lot of hype. I was extremely excited about it, seeing the trailers, and obviously being a big fan of Dracula, the original book, as well as Bram Stoker's Dracula, the film, and having seen the original silent film many, many years ago, I was pretty hyped by this. I do really enjoy some of Robert, it's New Year, I'm a little rusty, Robert Eggers' films. Now, before I do carry on, I'm going to say I am not a Robert Eggers stan. I take every single film as it comes. So, for example, I really loved The Witch, or The Vitch. Vitch. But I did not like The Lighthouse. And that's probably going to annoy some people because you can't have your own opinion on some things these days. I don't know, whatever. But, so I saw this and I saw the trailer for what it is. A new film, and I was going to judge it as it is. If you don't know the story of Nosferatu, it's a weird one how it came about. But essentially, the story of this film is a young man is sent over to a isolated Transylvania because a Count Olaf wants to buy a home in this made-up town in Germany. He goes over with all the documents for this person to sign. It's set in the 1850s, and he signs all these documents, but it turns out that he is a Nosferatu, a vampire, and he travels over to Germany to try and win the heart of Johnny Depp's daughter. I can't remember anyone's names. I will put them on the screen, like here and stuff, because I never remember anyone's names. I have a brain like a sieve, so I'm just going to say stuff like that. Enjoy it! If you don't know the story of Nosferatu, the original film that was created by the German Expressionist movement in the early 1900s. Essentially, it was a unlicensed version of Dracula. And the writer and the production company tried to change just enough details to be able to get away with the copyright without copyright infringement. But unfortunately, they didn't do enough, and it's very obviously a Dracula ripoff. So there was a cease and desist, and they were ordered to destroy all of the copies. However, some of them survived, and many years later, people saw this original Dracula film that was made, Nosferatu. And there was a remake in the 1970s, and then in the 2000s, there was a mockumentary film where Willem Dafoe played a man who was actually Nosferatu, pretending to be an actor, but he actually was a Nosferatu. It's a weird kind of meta film, but it's really fun. And I bring that up because Willem Dafoe's in this as well. And yeah, so that's kind of a very brief history of what happened with this film. So this film is a remake of a film that technically wasn't allowed to exist.
Standing before me was death. This
film is a mesh of that original Nosferatu and Bram Stoker's original Dracula story. It clearly is that. So they've taken inspiration from that original Nosferatu. They've taken that storyline and taken those beats, which were changed from the original Dracula. It has a different ending. It has some different beats and different storylines, which are really good. But the design of our new Count Olaf is very much reminiscent of the description of the Count Dracula in Bram Stoker's Dracula. So it does feel a bit more like of a mesh or a meeting of in between. You know, it's got elements from both. But what did I think of the film? I love this film. I fucking love this film. I thought this film was incredible. It is beautifully shot. The acting is superb. The script and the just overall feeling of this film is extremely gothic. It is very reminiscent of early cinema, which is what it's trying to create. If you aren't aware of Robert Eggers and what he does, he kind of sets his films in the period. And he does this to the extreme. So, for example, in The Witch, or the Witch, I'm going to stop there. I'll stop. He used the English that the Puritists would have spoken then. It is completely, well, not completely, but it is very different to how we speak English now. And that is the same in this film. The dialogue, the diction, it's very much reminiscent of how people spoke in the 1850s. You know, they're using words and they're using sentence structure that you wouldn't find in modern cinema, or you wouldn't find in a modern setting. And that's extremely important to this. It is very much grounded in that 1920s style of filming. And I really appreciated that. It's very much shot with extremely desaturated colour. There's very small amounts of pop of colour in this film. It almost feels like a black and white movie at some points. I know this film is going to be a love it or hate it film. I don't think there's going to be any in between. And from what I've seen, from what people have said about the film, my friends that I've spoken to who watched the film, some love it and some just hate it. I've not heard anyone say, yeah, it was all right. And I can see why. There are sentences like, in cases of such somnambulism, which means sleepwalking. But they never say sleepwalking because they didn't used to say sleepwalking. There is no relief from the tension. It is all dark atmosphere. There's no comedy relief. Women are spoken about and spoken to in a way that people would have been done in the 1850s. They use sentences and diagnoses such as melancholia. And they, you know, treat this main character, Johnny Depp's daughter, I'm sorry I can't remember her name and her character name, they treat her character as insane, and they tie her up, tell them to wear a corset as tight as possible because it'll fix her posture while she's having seizures, it seems like. They talk about alchemy and the use of the occult and chemicals, and it is, you know, it's very much grounded in the time period. And like I said, the way it looks, the way it's shot, it is very visually striking, and there is no relief from the gothic tension. It is also very gothically over the top. The outfits that people wear, the over the top scenery chewing, almost acting in parts, it is extremely, it's extremes. It's as simple as that. It's extremes, but that's the point. It's not necessarily a horror film that we are used to. It's not jump scary. It's not overly gory. It is essentially a love and lust story. I mean, that's what this film is about. It is about lust, and it is about love, and it is about the mixing of the two. Every character in this film at some point is lustful or over dramatically in love, or, you know, overly enthusiastic about something there or another. You know, we have our main characters. You know, we've got Beast from X-Men First Class and Johnny Depp's daughter, who have just gotten married. They are constantly at talk of love and lust and wanting to make love and not wanting to be apart, and it's very over the top in parts. And we have Beast's character lusting for wealth, and we have Aaron Taylor Johnson and his abs lusting after his wife. Even though they've had several children together, he still says this sentences, which is, you know, something that is part of his character, that he still lusts after her like the day that they met. Count Olaf lusts after Johnny Depp's daughter. I'm just going to keep saying it like that. If you don't like it, fix my brain. Yeah, it's one of those where it is about lust and love, what we are willing to do for the ones we love, and how far love and lust can push us. It's also shot in the time where there was plague, and Nosferatu is derived from several places that they believe, and one of the places that they believe the word is derived from is a plague carrier, I believe. So, you know, this idea of the Black Plague being transported, and that this character, Nosferatu, Count Olaf, is a plague himself. He's a bringer of death. It is about this lust and love and life and death. And this is not something that you see in horror films anymore. It's not action-packed, it's not jump scary. It is melancholy and tense and dreary, and that's not going to resonate with everybody, but it definitely resonated with me. This is the kind of film that I adore. It is beautiful to look at. Everyone in this film is firing on all cylinders. Mr. Skarsgård has redeemed himself from The Crow for me. He is unrecognizable, not only in because he's got heavy makeup, but in his voice acting, his physical mannerisms. Dear good Lord, he's done such a good job. Everyone in this is impeccable, except for a few moments with Aaron Taylor Johnson. I don't think his acting is the strongest, but he is the weakest actor in this. But that doesn't mean he is bad. There's just moments for me that it stood out a little bit more, that he is not as good as an actor as everyone else in this. But that didn't mean it was the worst he's the worst actor. It was just he's around all these heavyweights, and that was one of the things that took it down for me. There's only one other thing that I didn't like about this film. When I say I didn't like, I mean minor, minute grievances that are just like, I can let that go. But this is what I'm here for, right? I review films and stuff. There was a few moments throughout the film where I didn't think the film had time to breathe on top of the music. The music in this film is incredible. It's so fitting, but there were scenes where it was just constant and it was overbearing, and I didn't think it let the atmosphere breathe. It was just a bit too much. Sometimes it needed to step away, and it felt like for the first hour the music just never stopped. It was constant, and I wanted a break from that. I wanted some scenes to just step back, let the scene express what it's trying to say, rather than going, here is the music to tell you what to feel right now. And it was just a few times where that happened. It was 2 or 3 times. It wasn't all the way throughout the film. Like I said, just during that first hour, there was 2 or 3 times where I was a bit like, can we just step this music back a little bit? Other than those 2 extremely minor things, this film to me was exactly what we needed to start the year off with a fantastic, well-made, beautifully shot, extremely well acted and written horror film. A classic to kind of set us back on track, because 2024, not just for horror, we had some great horrors last year, but for film in general, that looking back at that year was not a good year. Hollywood's in decline, and I think this film has gone to show that you don't need to spend $300 million on a CGI nonsense when you can spend $50 million on a well thought out script and story with some good actors, and you will make a great film. For me, I'm going to give this a 9.5 out of 10. It would have been a 10 out of 10 if it wasn't for those 2 things. But like I said, because I've made grievances, I have to acknowledge that. But like I said, 9.5 out of 10 for me. Absolutely incredible movie. But what did you guys think about it? Because I know, like I said, it's love it or hate it. So let me know down in the comments what you thought about this film. You know, are you fans of Robert Eggers' other films? Let me know. Yeah. I can't wait to watch this again. I'm going to definitely buy it on 4K when it comes out. But yeah, that's the review, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You can follow me on social media. The links are down below. And there's going to be some more films coming up. And there's been a bunch of trailers released. So I'm going to be doing some trailer reactions to those as well. So make sure you subscribe. And yeah, until the next time, guys, happy watching.